call of the Hawks can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Pod at the Palace Live, presented by SARACEN, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Curtis Wilkerson and John Neighbors here with you for a breaking news edition of the show. Although if you've been listening to us the last few days here, it's not necessarily unexpected news. Malik Euan has entered the transfer portal here just hours ahead of the deadline. He is still waiting on a waiver for his 5th year of eligibility. That process is pending, but Arkansas can't afford to wait on Malik Euan. And he needs to be able to give himself as much leverage and flexibility as possible. If he does get cleared down the road, there's no timeline on this, and all the spots are filled. So this sucks, but it does make sense, and I don't believe it to be a bad breakup between the two here. We can talk more about that, but still, it doesn't leave Arkansas fans, John, feeling any better about a front court that has actually gotten thinner as opposed to growing here with the portal closing in just a few hours.
Yeah, I know that, people have their own thoughts on Malik Euan and as far as like how great is he or how good is he, what role is he going to play on next year's team and everything. There's just a lot of questions about it, but I think it's just a matter of timing, like kind of like what you alluded to. It's like you get thinner at a spot that you need bodies at, and it's not to say that you won't get any bodies there. You will. But it was almost like Malik Euan was kind of going to be that fallback option in some people's minds, or maybe just like, well, there's still Malik Euan, but when this type of thing happens, and of course, Joe Tipton and others start announcing it officially as far as him entering into the portal. I know you've been talking about it. It's like, it's one of those deals to where it would be not as bad of a thing if you already had big men in place, but because you don't, and because he is a big man, whether you like him or love him or hate him or whatever, it's definitely worthy of a story. And now, we're going to see what the future holds for Malik Euan.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You have to, I think for a situation like this, you've got to think about it from a business standpoint, right? Like Arkansas can't just assume that Malik Euan's going to be back, because it's entirely possible that he won't be. Like, a lot of these waivers get denied. There's no time frame on that. We don't know if it'll happen sometime this week that it'll get ruled on. We don't know if it'll happen sometime later in the summer. There's just too much uncertainty. They have to approach this as if Malik Euan's not going to be back. Now, you can question whether or not they've done that, because they've only made one addition to the front court here so far. But that's the way you have to do this. And from Malik Euan's standpoint, I get it. I would imagine he's probably also going to declare for the NBA draft, because if he doesn't get a 5th year of eligibility here with this ruling, then he's going to have no choice but to go start his pro career somewhere. So you might as well go ahead and get your name in there, start that process. Can you get an invite to the G League Combine or whatever? The question is, with Cal, he's been pretty clear about, hey, if you enter the portal, there is no coming back. I mean, that was the case with Boogie. It's been the case with everybody. And I wonder if there could be some extenuating circumstances here, because this makes sense. It's the logical move for both parties, given the situation, even though it sucks. And you would like to have that in place because you don't really have much going on at the 4 or the 5 right now. Would he be open to Euan coming back? I've got some messages out, some feelers out to see about that. I think there might be an exception to the rule here, but here's the thing. Now he's a free agent, and it's not like they don't do, just getting your information out there and trying to gauge what your market's looking like while you're committed to a school, whatever. That stuff happens. There's back channeling, there's tampering and everything like that, but it's open season now. So the cost of doing business with Malik Euan, now that he is in the portal, if he does get eligible at some point here, goes way, way up. So I saw somebody in the chat that said, I know that this makes sense and you've been talking about it, but it does feel like he's probably gone. I think it will be a hell of a lot harder to get him back if he did come eligible at some point here down the road.
Yeah, because you mentioned it as far as like, would this be an exception to the rule if he went to the portal and was wanting to come back? See, that was one of the first things that popped into my mind of, okay, well, if he was going to enter in the portal, or if Cal and the team wanted him to enter the portal, or felt like that was inevitable, it wouldn't have been waiting until the last minute. It would have been something like what DJ did and what Carter did, of like, all right, I'm going to enter in way ago, because they kind of saw the writing on the wall. They saw and had discussions with people and felt like it was the best thing for them. But happening like this close to the deadline, it's one of those things that makes me wonder, does this open it up? Because again, if they would have wanted him to leave, he would have already left. He would have already gotten into the portal. He would have already been looking at his options and everything. But because of the time, because of, the only really trying to limit some options, but trying to open up other options too. I just wonder that if it all settled down, he got his waiver And then he came back to Cal and said, hey, coach, I got my waiver and I'd like to come back. Is that something Cal's going to be like, well, come on in, buddy? Or is it going to be, hey, man, well, we're just going a different direction? This is a very fascinating portal entry because it feels like it's a lot different from the other portal entries that Cal's had so far.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's fascinating because the arc for Malik Euan during his time at Arkansas has been wild, because this time, almost exactly a year ago, they got him out of the portal, and he was a coveted addition at the time. He put up big numbers at Florida State, and people thought, okay, this is the dude who's going to take over. I know they went and got Nick Pringle, but the thought was that Malik Euan would kind of be the guy there on the interior, and it never really panned out that way. He didn't overtake Nick Pringle in the starting lineup until the NCAA tournament when Pringle was hurt. And they were literally begging. Even Nick Pringle was begging Malik Euan to take his spot. Actually, hey, coach, bench me so Euan can play. And he was never able to really fully grasp that, but he certainly started playing better basketball down the stretch of the season. He had the back-to-back double-doubles in the NCAA tournament. And he was a guy who you felt like, okay, maybe he's starting to figure it out. And it sure would be nice to have something left over in that front court if you could. But we knew this waiver process was coming. We knew nothing was guaranteed. But now it's, even though I knew that this was going to happen, but I still feel more uncomfortable right now than I did 15 minutes ago before it was announced, because you can always keep something in the back of your mind. I don't know, man, maybe they know something we don't. And I sure don't know what they're doing at the 4 right now. Boy, the options look limited at the 5. Maybe they feel confident that they're going to get him back. And if they do, you don't have as much work to do. Well, now you have a lot of work still to do here that hasn't been done yet. And so, yeah, I feel a little bit of consternation, and I wish Malik Euan well, whether that's starting his professional career or playing college ball, wherever it is that he might wind up.
Yeah, you said it as far as just the feeling that you have, because it's you're supposed to, as the portal gets closer to closing, you're supposed to be closer to getting a roster finalized. You're supposed to be getting closer to putting it all together, and you're not. In fact, you're further away than what you were days ago when you added the guys like Cooper Bowser and Wilkinson. You're further away from it. And I think that that's also what's an odd feeling, is because we talked about on Inside Arkansas Live today, is how did you feel about how the portal went as far as the window goes from when it started to where it's at? Did you feel like it went the way you thought it would? I think everybody agrees that it didn't, but this is just kind of a weird concept of okay, well, how am I feeling differently and almost worse in a way than what I did when this thing opened up? This is not the way it's supposed to feel, but that's the situation that you're in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, the question turns to, what does Arkansas do? What is this looking like moving forward? Well, the conversation hasn't changed from the one that we had a couple hours ago on Inside Arkansas Live. The targets are still the same here. At the 5 there, it's, Mustafa Cham left the Michigan visit. Can you get him in here actually, finally, and make something shake there? Or Obinna Ekezi, who is the reclass candidate that you're going to be waiting on for a while, that's visiting Michigan over the weekend. So they've got, those are a couple of really great options there, but they haven't closed the deal on either of them. And we've got about 7 hours left until the portal closes. And you still hope that, and it'd be great if 2 or 3 other, quality big guys would come available. And maybe that gives us a little bit more breathing room in terms of time frame and making something happen here, because you never know in the portal. It's kind of thought that, oh, wow, Somto finally entered. This is going to be a foregone conclusion. He's going to be a Razorback. And then he enters, it's official, the no contact tag. All right, great. No, just kidding, man. He's going to Miami. So you never know. The thought process of silent commits, or this guy's entering the portal so he can be a Razorback or a Wildcat or whatever else. Nothing is done until it's done during portal season. So we continue to wait with bated breath to see what they're going to do. And listen, I'm a John Calipari supporter, and I trust the man to put together a great roster. He's done it every single year of his career. So yeah, he gets some benefit of the doubt with me. He's testing it though, man. I got to admit, he's testing it. So for anybody out there who is wondering what this is going to look like in the end, I feel you. I'm nervous about it too.
Yeah, I almost feel like he's a Cal's way I feel about it is he's a guy right now that you've been telling everybody is dude, this guy's the greatest baseball player ever. He hits everything. He hits everything. He hits everything. And then when people are all around, you're watch this, he's going to hit. And he keeps swinging and missing and swinging and missing. And then you keep seeing, pop-ups. You're okay, what's going on here, man? It's you've been great everywhere else. It's give us something to where it proves us right and proves us that you do have this and you are in full control and you do know what you're doing. Even though we all believe it, even though we understand it, And I'm with you too, Curtis, as far as believing in Cal and supporting. I know he's going to put together the great roster, but it's like, can you give us some ammo? Can you give us like just a little bit of a, I don't know, something that we can look to and be like, okay, well, there's still some things, but we got this. It's like, there's just not really a whole lot going on right now. Doesn't mean it'll stay that way. But in this very moment where we stand at 5/21 on April 21st, 2026, the year of our Lord, there's just not a whole lot that we can point to and be like, this is going to be great. It just seems like it's been a lot more subtraction than addition, and that's not what you want.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And there seems to be an increasingly growing line of thinking out there behind the scenes that there really is something to Cal not entertaining the some of the bidding wars in the transfer portal. But we all know that that's something that he will do for freshmen, for youngsters. And it's crazy because people keep asking me when they see stuff like this happen, and they kind of wonder, like, how did they not get involved with this guy or that guy or whatever? Or are they broke? Do they not have money? And I continue to say, no, money's not the issue. They have it. And people are like, well, why are you saying that? Because we're not seeing any proof of it. Well, I'm saying that because that's what I'm being told. Like if I wasn't being told that, that's not something I would be regurgitating out there. I understand what the optics look like right now. But it does make me wonder, the further along we get into this, especially as they're, targeting reclass candidates and things like that. Is Cal, we mentioned this on the show the other day, is he trying to do a youth movement here? Could this be a thing where he's like, man, these older guys who maybe they don't have a pro future, so they're just trying to get a $4 million bag to stay in college or whatever. Man, I'm not going to entertain that, but maybe I'll pay up for an incoming freshman or a reclass or a young guy in the portal who has that type of upside or something. So we might be seeing a little bit of a shift here in terms of the way that they're approaching this, which you can make it work. Like if they got a KZ and, Mika, although I'm not as high on him as some others, and, maybe a freshman out of the portal or something, there are ways that you could go about doing that where you could still have an awesome roster. But man, the further along we get, it's every time you feel like you're starting to get a handle on what it is they're trying to do, guess again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I know that this sounds like a question I'm sure you've been asked many times in our Discord or whatever, Curtis, but like where it stands just right now, which are you leaning towards more of like Malik Euan still like finding a way to play for Arkansas or not? Like, is it more like a percentage thing of as far as, cause I know he just entered into the portal, so obviously it's going one direction more so, but like, what is a chance that you could see Malik Euan actually being on the Razorback roster next year, assuming he gets a waiver?
Yeah, I think it's sub 50%. Like, I mean, typically a guy hits the portal and I'd say 0, you know what I mean? Like it's over. There's no way. I don't necessarily feel like that's the case with Ewin here. And we kind of talked about why, but I think it's a coin flip at best that he would even get that waiver. So that would make it 50-50 for me. And then again, knowing the premium, like the supply versus demand when it comes to big men and the type of offers that some of these guys are getting that I just don't feel like Arkansas would really be compelled to match, that drags that percentage down to me for me also. So I don't know, 25-30%, like, or maybe that's even generous. I just I probably need to hear from a couple more people to give you a real good one, but off the top, that's kind of where I'm at. I know it's probably for people who, I know there's some out there like, good man, good riddance, we were soft in the post anyway, see you later, you don't care. For others who are like, but we don't have much, that might not be what you want to hear, but I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, because, well, I don't know as far as leaning one way or the other. I'm just saying for me personally, though, I can tell you, would I rather have or have not Malik Euan on the team next year where it stands right now? I'd rather have him, just being honest. So, again, if they figure something out and they have some other options, kind of like what you laid out, okay. But until that point, I'm going to be sitting here being like, man, it'd be nice to have Malik Euan. It'd be nice to have Malik Euan. And unless they start adding some guys or maybe he comes back, I'm going to feel that way. But, it's been chaotic. It's been crazy. And this is just one of those things to where, don't really know what's going to end up happening. But still, for sure, best of luck to Malik, whatever he ends up doing. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings or anything like that. It's just, it's an unfortunate circumstance right now. Yeah,
I want to talk about one more thing with Ewin, but before we do that, I got to give a shout out to our partners over at OZK Insurance for powering us here through portal season. They got some good news last week, but it does feel like it's been a lot of subtraction as opposed to addition, but they're going to fill out the roster. Don't worry about that. But OZK is awesome, man. It's an independent insurance agency who's not tied down to just one carrier, so they can shop all of them to find the best coverage and price for you. And they've paired that now with this full service mobile app that you see there on your screen. And it's awesome. With the OZK Insurance app, you can see all of your policies under one roof. You can pay your bills. You can request roadside assistance, file claims, request policy changes, or even get new quotes all from the convenience of your phone. So you're going to get the best part of an independent agent, which is choice, flexibility, and dealing with real people, while combining that with the convenience of modern technology. If you're tired of being stuck with one carrier or chasing down paperwork, go to ozkinsurance.com or search OZK Insurance in the App Store or Google Play. It's a local agency with national level options, one powerful app. That's OZK Insurance. So we'll get to your chats in just a second, folks, and we appreciate everybody for hanging out with us here. But I wanted to throw this at you real quick, John, because part of my line of thinking, the back part of the season when Arkansas was struggling in the front court, I mean, they struggled all year, but it was amplified in the Florida game and then obviously against Arizona in the tournament, whatever. And it was like, okay, regardless of who's back and what it looks like, you got to get a big, mean, physical presence in there, right? You got to get somebody who can, go up against the Chinyalus of the world. You're not going to find somebody like that probably, but just somebody who has the sheer size to be able to hold up from that standpoint. It's like a tough physical SOB is somebody that you really needed. They haven't done that yet. And I like Cooper Bowser for the role that we talked about for Cooper Bowser, but he's not that guy, right? And then I was thinking, but if you keep Malik Euan, then you can kind of do what their vision was with him and Nick Pringle. Because with Ewin, it was, hey, this is a dude who's going to score for you. He's versatile. He'll get you buckets. He's a great offensive rebounder. Probably leaves some to be desired on the defensive end of the floor, but that's what the other guy is for. And he'll block the shots and protect the paint and beat people up. Well, now you need both. And what scares me about this is you're not going to get it all in one guy. That person is not out there. The closest you could get right now, I guess, would be Mustafa Cham. I mean, he averaged 12 points a game or whatever, and he's a good shot blocker. So maybe that's the closest you could get to getting both with one guy. Outside of that, it's kind of slim pickings. So we know that Cal's not the biggest fan, and this is another reason why I think we might be seeing a youth movement here. We know he's not the biggest fan of the transfer portal, but it feels like you need two now to accomplish your goals, with Ewin being probably out of the picture. So maybe this will be a year where Cal winds up taking 5 transfers or something because he has to. I can't see a world where he does that. But we're not even talking about the potential of a guy like Malik Thomas staying in the draft. And then you got to go look at your guard situation. So a lot is still in flux here as we get to late April, and the options are not great.
Yeah, because I was when you were laying it out, I was like, there is obviously some guys that are potentially coming back, and when Malik Thomas was there, I'm like, well, wait, what if he decides that he wants to stay in? That just really puts you even more behind the 8 ball. And I think that that's what's scary about this thing, is that the thing that Cal does not care for as much, or whatever, however you want to put it, as far as how he feels about the transfer portal, there could be a world where it's like, okay, the thing that you may not like, the thing that you may not put emphasis on as much or whatever, it's going to have to be your saving grace in order to have a good season. And that's just not a recipe for success. I mean, because that's anything. Like, it's, imagine if a coach is quarterback driven and he's like, I'm more of a pocket passer. That's what I do. I do a pocket passer, and that's the best type of quarterback I can succeed with. But then he's forced to bring in a dual threat quarterback. It's like, could he do it? Sure. Can he win with it? Maybe. But it's not like there's a reason why he doesn't have an emphasis on it. And so that, to me, is what's a little bit scary about the Cal thing. Is, can he get guys in the portal? Of course he can. Can he get players that are really high quality? Of course he can. But if it's something that he doesn't put preference on, or if it's something that's obvious that, you're far in the game and it seems like a lot of it has passed by already, there's just no way I can see you doing as good of a job on it as if you went all in from the jump and really went after it. So that, to me, is what's the scary part. Is, yes, you could have to add some players, but there's still some circumstances that may be on Cal's control that could end up making him have to put in even more work to try to put together a roster, not just a solid roster, just a roster in general of bodies out there on the court.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And I think I guess the part that's more, I feel like I know I sound like a broken record. I know we had somebody that was mad earlier today. It's like, man, it's getting really redundant. Well, of course it is, because it is kind of the same thing every day. But to me, it's not so much about, well, they haven't made the big splash yet. It's the combination of, one, there's just not that much that's out there. And with every day, you're seeing more and more come off the board. So you get very antsy about it, combined with Arkansas knew, and again, like, just copy, paste, repeat what I've been saying for days here. They knew from the start of the season, like, Trevin Brazile could not come back. Nick Pringle could not come back. And there's a very good chance that Malik Euan wouldn't be able to. That was it. Like, that was your front court. So what you're seeing in certain cases, like I'll use the kid that entered the portal from Auburn yesterday, who I really like. He entered the portal yesterday. He committed to Vanderbilt today. Do you think that's a coincidence? No, it's not. They did their legwork. They identified their guy. They knew a need that they had. They lured him into the portal and they signed him. No funny business, no drawn out process. No, I'm taking other visits, no bidding wars. They had it done. And when the dude entered the portal, they finished it. And I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get that with Arkansas for at least one of these spots. Like, you know, if you wanted to play the field and see what happens with your 4-man or whatever, fine. But boy, it sure would have been nice to have, you know, one of these bigs that you really feel like can make an impact for you already taken care of. Maybe that was Somto. I'm not saying it wasn't, but we know how that turned out. But my point is, if that was the case, you can't leave that up to chance. Like, you have to be able to get that done. So it's not that they're just sitting on their hands, that they're not working on things, they're not talking to guys, that they're not recruiting. We might, by the end of the night, have a visit confirmed for Chom, who left Michigan. And good Lord, you would think Arkansas would be next on the list there if anybody was. And then we all feel a lot differently about where this is headed. But the fact that they've been trying to make a push for him for a couple weeks, and he's taken multiple other visits, and you're still working just to get him in for a visit on campus, it just leaves you feeling a little bit uneasy. So I don't think that it had to be this way. And that's irritating to me, but it's also not they're cooked. It's the end of the world. You know, Paolo and Cooper Bowser are the bigs, and that's just the way it's going to be. That's not going to be what happens here. But I don't know how it's going to end up.
Well, and I know we'll get to the chats and everything, but I guess that you kind of alluded to what I was going to ask you of, you know, say if, and it's the big, you know, I'm big on the what if questions, but like, it's like, what if Cal just, you know, doesn't get the guys that, especially at the bigs, that people were hoping for, or even up to his caliber, where it's like deadly obvious that it didn't work out. I feel like it's not going to be because they don't have money. It's not going to be because as a program, they don't have aura. It's not going to be because they don't have playing time. Like, it's not going to be because of any of those things. To what, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Curtis, but it sounds like if they miss out on these guys, it's going to be strictly because of decisions. It was just making wrong decisions, which in one way makes it great because those are fixable and those are things you can change. But at the same time, more frustrating because you had it, you have everything you need. You just decided not to handle it the right way or to do the right thing. And I think that that's what, at least I'm concerned about too, is with Cal in the short period of time that he's going to be at Arkansas, you don't have a whole lot of years to just, hey, have a freebie where it's just like, well, you know, 1 year, it's just not going to be as good. It's like, you want to see it continuing to ascend. And if they miss out, and then we're sitting here in the middle of the SEC season next year being like, geez, they're just getting torched on the boards and can't get anything inside, we're going to look back onto this moment and be like, well, maybe they should have made better decisions when it came to the transfer portal and getting some of those bigs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Because, and you know, maybe they do have something up their sleeve here. I feel really good about where they're at with Obene Akezi. It's just, he is taking that Michigan visit. Therefore, it's not over. You know, I heard some people throw it out there. Well, maybe the visit was already scheduled, and it's just it's a good faith. It's keeping your word kind of thing. But he's all hog. That's not how this works. that is not how this works. You know what that is? It's a Sam Pittman move. Yes. We don't do that with the basketball program. So I don't think that's a thing. Doesn't mean that Arkansas won't be able to get it done here. But you know, when you have over 2,500 transfers who hit the portal, it's kind of risky to bank on a high school junior who's being recruited by the national champs and some other heavy hitters reclassifying and joining you a year early as your answer there. So I know they've got some other irons in the fire. We'll see what it winds up looking like until the wheels completely fall off and he's rocking somebody else's jersey. I'm going to be on the Chom train. Gotta be, but who knows what that looks like. Well, you want to get into some chats and then get out of here? There we go.
Yeah, I don't know if you can even see it. I don't know if I can focus in on it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a signature, and that's the only thing that I care about is when anything's actually happening. It's when the signature is on the dotted line, then I'll be like, all right. But until that happens, they're just going to have to wait and see. So get those signatures done, Cal. Get those fax machines going. We need some players. Yeah,
no doubt. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. I think I saw maybe just a couple super chats. We appreciate you guys, but I want to get to those first. Heartbroken Hog, member for 10 months. That's awesome. Said if he does come back, he will be known as Malik did it the right way, Ewin. Exactly. For those crashing out, all we got is all we need. Well, you need more than what you've got if you're trying to get further than you did last year, I think. And that's no disrespect at all at the two guys that are in your front court, but that's not enough. And we would all hate to see what looks like a backcourt that could be among the best in the country again. I mean, Jordan Smith Jr. is awesome. The other two freshmen are great. If you get Billy back, if you get Malik Thomas back, I mean, I would put that up against anybody in the country. The other 364 teams, give me Arkansas. But the front court is what limited you this past year. And I know every year is different in terms of how championship rosters are built and everything like that. But man, if that was a weakness, you got to improve it. And we'll see what winds up happening there. But appreciate the chat there from Heartbroken Hog. And then we've got Washburn Idol, who earlier, what was it? He said something about no commitments until morale is boosted or something. And now his cheeks are thoroughly clenched there. I think a lot of people's are, but again, it's impossible to just stay even keeled this time of year. Remember the highs that we felt literally a week ago when they got Bowser and they're like, all right, well, hey, they're on the board, man. And then they got Jeremiah Wilkinson and we were pumped up. We were fired up. You're hearing all this stuff about, hey, maybe there is momentum with this guy or that guy. That was great. And then it's bottomed out a little bit the last couple of days, but there will be another upswing that we can get excited about at some point here. When? I don't know.
Yeah. That's the problem, is when. People don't know when. And so therefore they freak out.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We've got JC's down 200 says he probably sees who Cal and the gang have cooking up in the front court and thought it'd be best to leave. I like this energy. I don't think that's the case, but I like this energy a lot. No, I just wanted to clarify because it's interesting. It's complicated. And there's a lot of folks who are entering the transfer portal who don't have eligibility. Why is this happening? What's going on? The NCAA is also trying to institute a fifth year of eligibility ruling. And maybe it happens this summer, maybe it doesn't. That's kind of in flux. So that's why you're seeing a bunch of guys in Ewin's situation who are either trying to get that or get a waiver for, hardship. For Ewin's case, it's for the JUCO year that he had. We'll kind of see. But this is what I can tell you is that this was not hey, we've got 3 guys here and we don't have room for you. Get out. That's not the case here, but it was a business decision, I think, by both parties.
Real quick, Hurst, for the next chat, I'm curious. Do you think that teams maybe have been negative recruiting in a way towards Cal of everything? Because his whole take of like 25-year-olds with alimonies, I'm not saying that that's like a huge thing, but do you think that there's maybe been some of that in cases of people trying to be like, hey, Cal, don't play for Cal out of the portal because he won't like you, he won't emphasize you, he won't prioritize you, and that's a problem? Of
course. No, 100% that's been the case. I think they've also been pointing to maybe some recency bias with the development of front court players. Although I think Trevin Brazil has helped them from that standpoint this year. But yeah, I think there's some of that, when Cal stumps the way he does about not being crazy about transfers, comparatively speaking, and multi-time guys and got to get this under control. What moves me is doing this with young people, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. Yeah, everything that is said can and will be used against you in the court of the transfer portal. Everybody's going to do that. There's no doubt about it. And I think something that's really probably getting into them is the whole conversation about bidding wars, because and I understand it. And I see Andrew is backstage, and we'll bring him in just a second because I want to get his thoughts on this. But I agree with the premise of what Cal says about, I want to be transformational and not transactional. I get it, man. Like they're because his whole identity, the reason he's a Hall of Fame coach is the way he recruited, by which use me as a vehicle for all your dreams to come true. And we'll get you to the league and you'll get drafted. Don't trip over nickels, all that stuff. But the game has evolved. And what I wish would happen is that he could come to the realization that you can be transformational by being transactional for some of these guys who can be great college players that can help you win at a very, very high level. But maybe there's something keeping them from having that professional career. Maybe they don't have all the intangibles. Maybe they don't have the size, or it's a more traditional big man that's not a modern day whatever. And you can be life-changing and transformational by giving them that experience to play on great teams at the University of Arkansas, and by giving them life-changing money that they might not be able to make by going to the NBA. And that's why you see guys like Thomas Houck, who could be a first-round draft pick this season and could wind up at, going back and forth to the G League or whatever. He's going back to school because he's going to get $5 million to do it and play on an awesome team and be in an awesome situation. And that's transformational for him. So I do wish that maybe we could get on the other side of some of this. I don't want to call it stubborn because that's not fair and it sounds disrespectful to Cal, but old school line of thinking, I guess it is. I'm going to get Andrew in here, though. Andrew, hello.
Hello, guys. Sorry that I was like in traffic on Weddington, like just losing my mind, being like, I gotta get back. Can't even get groceries around here. But I'm not going to derail the entire show. I'm not going to make it last 45 minutes longer. I just wanted to offer my 2 cents if I'm allowed. And I like what you said, Curtis, there at the end, because it cues me up exactly for what I was going to say, which is that I'm sad. One, because I kind of have always liked Malik Euan, even though I probably shouldn't have at times. Like, I've always at least seen the vision of what he could be. And that's what's at times made me disappointed by his inconsistencies during the season, is I liked what I talked myself into, which is this offensively skilled, big body who's versatile, and when he wants to, can be an okay rim protector. And I just like the ceiling there, and he's now an adult. And we've kind of lived with some of his inconsistencies, and you mentioned being transformational. I had already talked myself into that as well, where it's like, hey, this guy had his ups and downs, but he finished the year playing some good basketball. We can build on that, and we can take him, now he'll be a 5th, 6th year guy. Like, this can really be the nice last chapter for him, and maybe he gets another, pro career after this, or he just makes a lot of money and wins a lot of basketball games for Arkansas. I like the idea of that. And as John mentioned, like, you just want, as you're getting closer and closer to the end of this thing, your roster picture to become more clear. It concerns me that ours is not. Now, I'm not in full-on crash-out mode of like, oh, goodness, they're not going to have any path to getting a good roster or anything like that. I do think it just puts so much pressure on this next move. And, I think about someone like Cham. I think about someone like Malik Thomas. Am I crazy for being like, you kind of have to pull one of those off? Like, for this whole thing to have made sense, you kind of have to pull something like that off. And you look around the landscape, there's not many opportunities for you to have an addition that is just like an unquestionably good one like that. I think it's, again, it's not crash out time, but it's now high pressure, high stakes time for Cal and his squad.
Yeah, everybody just wants to know. They want to see the plan in action. Like you can keep people on board by going out and doing whatever to kind of rectify where you're at right now. And we know that they're going to. It's just a matter of time. There have been conversations the entire last couple of days here about, hey, they're going to have visitors this week, and some of them have been pending, which that makes you think, okay, these are guys who are visiting other schools right now. Hint, hint, wink, wink, that you need to get them out of those visits before you get them on campus. You can connect some dots there. And then a number of other guys. I've heard a name of another one. I don't know how much it's going to excite people, but we're going to start hearing about that. It's not like Ewin left and you didn't get something, whatever. So, man, we're just gonna have to go back in our corner and get in the war room and regroup, and we'll try again next week. Like, no, they're actively doing things out here. And they're going to get some guys in here, and we'll be able to talk ourselves into them. And we're going to start hearing about that here soon. You know why? Because there's no more waiting on other guys to get in here after the next 6 hours. That time frame is over with. So who's out there is who's available, and that's who Arkansas. That's the pool to pursue from. So the good news is coming. We're going to have some some things to be looking forward to with guys being on campus and everything like that. And hopefully the end result is something that everybody's satisfied with and is an upgrade up front from what they had a year ago.
Well, and like the Cooper Bowser thing, it's the timing of this that makes it tough right now, where it's like, if you saw the full roster and, maybe there's a couple other starting bigs in there, we would all love the Cooper Bowser thing. But the fact that we got that first before even the Jeremiah Wilkinson, it's like, oh, wow, this is our big move. This Malik Euan news we might look back in a month and be like, oh, that really wasn't the end of the world. Hell, he might even return and take his name out of the portal. But without knowing that subsequent information, it's really hard to not at this very moment be like, what's going on? But as we know, you're allowed to have a rabbit in the hat, and I hope Arkansas's got about 4 rabbits in the hat, and I hope they're all 6'10", 240, and can block some shots.
Yeah, me too. Because I saw these back to back just now. From Shep, he says the portal only closes to enter. We can still get guys from the portal as long as they enter by 11 p.m. And then Mark says the damn portal closing doesn't mean the players in the portal are unavailable. Good grief. Do you think that we don't know that and understand that? My challenge to you, though, is to go to the transfer portal and look at the players who are available and see how deep that list is with guys at the 4 and 5 who are going to be able to make a big difference for you. That's the thing, because you're right. And it's not lost on anybody in here. Maybe you're talking to others in the chat. I don't know. But the point is, there were a lot more than there are now. And a lot of guys have come off the board. And so it is, man, at those particular positions, it's slim pickings. So the demand is super, super high across the country for teams in need of impact help in the front court. And the supply is not there right now. So what does that mean? It means bidding wars, which is, so if you're going to get these guys, you might have to pay more than they're worth in your mind to be able to secure what you need there. So it's just driving the price up. That's kind of how all this works. So yeah, I would, and been talking about it every day. I kind of go through and update the list of who's available and who's not, and whatever, like who would move the needle for Razorback fans. And that list gets smaller and smaller every day. And what's crazy is the last 2 days here of the portal being open, we haven't seen those splashy names really enter. Malik Euan's probably the best name that's entered. He's not even eligible over the course of the last couple of days here. So it's kind of crazy.
And that's why you look at it and it's like, yeah, you don't have to have the decision by tonight, but you look at what's available and, that'll be official here in the next few hours. I feel like Chom and Chom is kind of the big one. Like that is the one that could kind of make all this kind of worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chom, the reclass Akazi. And I mean, there's a couple other, there's more at the 4 right now than the 5 that I like. But like at the 5, like Anton Bonk, is he like a home run difference maker? No, but is he somebody who can definitely help you and play a role? Yeah, I think he is. There's a good, other handful of guys in there, but it gets to platoon, 15-minute a game type of dudes pretty quick there at the 5. At the 4, there's like some real big time heavy hitters like Momchilovich from Iowa State and Graves from Santa Clara and dudes like that who very well may just stay in the draft. And if not, they're going to be the type of guys that command $4+ million. So yeah, it'd be cool if Arkansas got involved with them. But so far, we haven't seen anything to suggest that that's the route that they would probably go. We'll see. I'm with you though on Chom. Number 1 in our hearts. He's a fan of fishing too, by the way. So he get along with the baseball team and everything. So
take him out to Lake Norm. I like that.
Yeah,
before
exactly.
we build over it.
Exactly. A handful more chats and then we'll get out of here. I see a super chat from Quinn. Auburn's loading up with like every type of front court piece you could imagine. They got a dude from overseas. They've got their JUCO guy is coming back. He was injured. They went and got the dude that was at Creighton who was banged up this year. They went and got a 4-man from the Sun Belt. Like they're all over the place. He said, shock y'all have been slow on transfers. You shouldn't be. Do you know who our coach is? He says, happy with what Steven has done so far. We need another 2 guards to back up to Todd and Overton, but happy with what we have. Yeah, it's an interesting group. Auburn was undersized outside of Keyshawn Murphy for the most part this year, and it's not going to be an issue for them going into next season. They've got like 4 dudes who are nearly 7 feet tall that I think will actually play for them. So not bad. Okay, just a few more super chats. Appreciate everybody again. From this person says, I believe in Cal and I'm not concerned with them getting their guys, but I would also like to know what are your thoughts about the floor and ceiling of the roster as it stands?
That's a
as
tough
it stands. It's the floor is like NIT or something because as it stands, you don't have Billy and you don't have Malik Thomas and you've got Samito and Bowser as your front court. Like I love Jordan Smith Jr. and Torrey and JJ Andrews and Wilkinson. Like that's enough to win some games there, but they got a ton of work to do. If you told me your returners were coming back, like if I knew Leak and Billy were coming back and the front court was as was,
they would make the tournament.
Make the tournament with that team. Yeah, maybe. You'd have to have a lot go right, but they'll when it's all said and done, they'll have enough there to where we'll be talking ourselves into this being a team that can make a run and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's going to be the like Final Four, baby, let's go kind of group that I was hoping for.
The floor will wind up being a pretty solid NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. If they get if they got Chom or Akazi, like if they got either one of those guys that we talk about so much, I'd be I'd already, just with that one move, I would already be like, hey, you know what? I think they can make it right back to where they were last year at least. Like I'd feel pretty good about that. So, let's see. Yeah, like STL Razor says, 7th or 8th best roster in the SEC at best currently.
There's a lot of unfilled rosters out there.
There are, yeah. Texas has done well for themselves. Tennessee's done well for themselves. But like you like your position better than Kentucky, don't you? I think I like where Arkansas is at better than Bama. I think, obviously a lot of the other lower level schools there, like Vanderbilt's doing well for itself. So I don't know if it's that bad, but we also know that it's not the finished product. So maybe the people who update their rankings every day or something would have us frustrated by that, but I don't know. Ryan says, appreciate the super chat. Do you feel our portal has been run professionally? What does that mean?
Like the operations of the administration?
Yeah, here's the thing, Ryan, because there are a lot of reasons why you could look at this and go, what is the plan? Like, what exactly is it that they're trying to do? But that's without knowing all the inner workings of what's going on. I keep going back to the Keanu Dawes thing, where we spent the first week and a half of the portal being open going, are they even pursuing a 4? Like, are they even recruiting this position? Like, Trevin's out of here. They don't have anybody. What's going on? And then next thing you know, you're so far down the road in the recruitment of a guy like Dawes that he's a night away from coming and visiting your campus, and you've got an opportunity to get him. Now, he popped for Kansas, and that sucks, whatever. But we didn't even know that was a thing. So it's hard for me to say. It might be just a complete goat rodeo, but with the way they keep it buttoned up like Fort Knox over there, this plan might be going in motion the exact way they thought, for all we know. I don't know. I believe that's the case.
Maybe they can afford to be more unprofessional, honestly.
Yeah.
Get dirty with it,
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. All right. Well, I think we've gone long enough on this. I'm going to record a pod later tonight. I'm going to wait until the portal closes and see who all is out there and available and everything. But Malik Euan's out of here. Any final thoughts on that, fellas, before we wrap it up?
Just good luck to him. And I'm sure everything is going to be perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm going to wait and see if he takes his name out of the portal before I really say what I want to say about Malik Euan, because I want to make that clear. I will gladly welcome him back if he does eventually take his name out of the portal. Until then, I'm going to hold my comments, but I will not be a huge fan if this doesn't work out. And all I have to say after that is Malik Thomas, come save us.
Yes, no doubt about it. My final thought, because I see one more chat in here from Tuna. We appreciate you being a member 6 months. Is there a big in the portal you would be excited to call your starter, or are we just picking the best leftovers with Chom? I would be excited to call Chom Arkansas's starting center. I think he'd be a big upgrade over what you had. If they were to get involved with a guy like Masamba Diop, I don't think they are, but if they were, that would be one for sure. There's a couple foremen in there. I mentioned Momchilovich and Graves. Both of those guys would excite me a lot at the power forward position. So still plenty of options there. And Casey, by the way, I know he's not in the portal, but he's the #1 center in the 2027 class. He'd be a good get for sure. But out of here, appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, subscribe to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel. Turn on those noties, because we go live to talk about things like this and also the good stuff that happens. For Andrew Ellis and John Neighbors, I'm Curtis Wilkerson. We'll catch you guys next time. Everybody have a good rest of your day.